Good afternoon. I'm Bridget Kane, and I'm here with Leslie Gibbs, who is my dear friend, former colleague, and is now, I'm going to let her tell you who she is, what she does now.
Yes. I am Leslie Gibbs. I was an English teacher for 19 years and entered the world of instructional leadership as an instructional coach for a couple of years, and now I'm the curriculum director and career and technical education director for Choctaw County Schools.
Okay. Well, Leslie, thank you for giving me your time. And really, what do you think has been the biggest challenge just for moving from the classroom to the instructional side?
The biggest challenge has been all the irons in the fire. In the classroom, we had to multitask. There's 1,000 things you have to think about all the time, but they're all in one wheelhouse.
Yeah.
They're all within one set of students. You know your students, you know your job, you know your curriculum, you know what you need to do. And although that is difficult and challenging, for me, the biggest thing about moving into instructional leadership with curriculum has been how many different aspects of the educational process that are in my court at all times. And for me, so just trying to organize and strategize about how best to handle a lot of issues has been the most difficult thing and the biggest difference.
How do you do that? How do you spend the majority of your work day? Like, how do you prioritize that? And what would you say is?
It's different on different days. Too many times I feel like I'm reactive instead of proactive, because sometimes you just get phone calls that you're not expecting, and then that's kind of a drop everything and go. If a school's having an issue or if there's something that needs to be handled. But what I'm trying to do as a beginning instructional leader, because I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is Bella, and Winston will also be making an appearance with us.
This is my Sunday afternoon. But the biggest thing, I guess, is figuring out what my big rocks are. And keeping those visible. They often tell me that I'm the queen of lists, that I make so many, and it's true. I make so many lists, and then I can't even find the list that I made to make the list. But what the big rocks are, and then what the small steps are that I need to be able to take care of. And sometimes that takes a long amount of time to get one thing accomplished. There's a lot that goes into something that, for instance, when you're doing an initiative to try to increase rigor in the classroom, or to give teachers the best bang for your buck as far as getting them the professional development that they need, the training that they need, and then the tools they need to implement. It's just that that takes a long time, and there's a lot of steps involved with that. Funding requests, and figuring out where it's all coming from, how much we're asking of our teachers in their summers, how much we're asking of our teachers in their afternoon time. So that has been a big thing. So big rocks, and I try to do one or two things each day that will accomplish, that will help me get toward accomplishing the big task. But it takes a lot to mark one thing off the list.
And it does. So how do you, because I think the thing that I want most, or see that this could be most, especially if you were in a high school, just where we have been and where I am, if I were at the school level, like, how do you see, like, how have you been able to help teachers the most, do you think?
Well, I'm in such a small system that we have one curriculum person in the whole district, so that's me. We have two feeder patterns with a K-6 and a 7-12 school in each pattern. So I'm really responsible for curriculum and instruction in four schools. So it's elementary and secondary. I've had to learn the most with elementary. That was foreign to me. A lot of that was foreign to me. My time as an instructional coach actually really was valuable to me, because it forced me to move away from content-driven instruction in my own. Because as a high school teacher, you know that we are usually content-driven. And any instructional strategies that we use to try to differentiate or to reach kids who are not on grade level, or, that we need to accelerate for, we kind of came about those through the lens of our content.
Yeah.
I don't know if doesn't matter.
You're still going?
So if that to me was valuable in what I'm doing now in the elementary schools, because now I know a lot more than I did about actual classroom strategies that can be used to differentiate education, what the curriculum is. And so with the Literacy Act coming up, we're looking at having to retain third grade students who aren't reading on grade level at it's this year's first graders, so in 2022. So that is I've had to do a lot of learning with that. The secondary curriculum is much more in my wheelhouse. I learned a lot about math and science and about career tech, which I didn't know a whole lot about those things until I became an instructional coach and then actually became the director of career tech first, before I took over curriculum instruction. So I am most at home when I'm dealing with the English teachers at the high schools, of course, English and history. We actually, as soon as I took over curriculum, I wrote for the A+ College Ready grant partnership, which I had already spearheaded in my other school. And so now we're in the process of implementing that, beginning the training process for that this summer. That's all something that I feel like I can, it's exciting, and I think I can really help. I can inspire teachers to push through how difficult all of that is, because I know what happens on the other side.
You know how valuable
the buy-in is so valuable there. So I think the energy that I can devote to that project is probably really why they gave me this job. We just need a shot in the arm sometimes in these small rural schools where we're dealing with teacher shortage and falling enrollment, and it's just really hard to offer what we know our kids need as far as branching out, doing more than what we're already doing. So,
and I think that's true everywhere. And I think
to get back, I think I didn't get back to the middle of your question. You were saying at the school level, how can I help my teachers? I do try to go out into a school at least 2 days a week and get on the floor with the babies, on the rug with the little ones, in the classrooms with the teachers at the high schools, or doing whatever my career tech people. I spend a lot of time in my welding shop because it's that's a huge part of workforce development in our area. And so I do try to get out there, but my home base is the central office, which is difficult because it's a step away from where they are. And a lot of times I get caught behind a computer a lot. So,
and I think what you just said about they gave you this job because of all your work with the A+ College Ready. I think that's exactly, but like how you lead, because you can say, I know, I've been there, I've been you, I know where this is going, you've got to get through. So you can lead them, you've led them by example, and you know how to help them stay motivated through that because you've done it.
Absolutely. And that is my leadership style. My leadership style is most definitely a servant. I don't like to give directives. I don't like to send down edicts from the central office. I don't want to tell those teachers they have to do anything that I haven't already done myself. Right. And so I really work hard to establish relationships with teachers. And that was difficult for me coming into a place as a coach where I didn't know anybody after having been a teacher in my hometown in the school that I graduated from, where everybody in town knew me. I taught all my best friends' children and my own children. I didn't really have to prove myself when I was a teacher. I really had to prove myself when I became a coach because no one knew who I was and no one wanted to coach anyway.
Why do we have her?
Yes. I mean, it's just a difficult thing to be a teacher in high school, kind of on your own island for so long, like we were for so long. And then we're going into this age of, we understand that collaboration creates growth for our kids. We weren't trained that way. Right. We didn't teach that way for a long time.
And I think one thing though that must have been an advantage for you was just our department that we were part of was very collaborative, but within, but not without in the faculty, only in our department.
That's right. That was I really that experience has been invaluable for me, because it's exactly what you said. We all vertically teamed. We always aligned our curriculum among ourselves as a department. However, we maybe didn't horizontally align with some other departments other than history, because we did, it was very much with our history teachers. We did that. But as far as thinking about what we could have done differently that might have caught some of those kids who were falling through the cracks reading on the 3rd or 4th grade level, there probably were some things we could have done a little differently. But the strength of our department was that we were honest about what we were doing in the classroom, whose strengths would be better doing what, and then making sure that we were hitting all those skills and spiraling all of those skills. That takes a lot. That takes teachers understanding the standards and understanding the content and understanding the kids and knowing how to put all that together, that instructional core, in a way that works. We might not have known what to call it years and years ago, but that's what we were doing.
We were trained.
Right.
By Kate and Jane Ellen.
Yeah.
And so, how do you? How do you really assess instructional programs and know what materials and activities you need? How do you, and then motivate the teachers to want to do it? Like you said, this new literacy thing, I know people are terrified.
Yes, and I am, because I'm so new and because I don't have any elementary experience, I am really banking on the network of curriculum directors that I've met as I've gone out into those meetings and the PD that we have together. And I'm reading as much as I can about what the research says. We're kind of having to wait on the task force at the state level to vet the assessment that's going to be. It's going to be ACAP, but there are going to be some assessments that are coming along with that. There are going to be programs that are dyslexia, specific, but we can't wait on that because we have so many students right now who are in desperate need. And so I'm really just relying on that network of curriculum people from other places in the state that have a lot of experience and for elementary. And then I think that a lot of curriculum people who maybe are elementary people who don't have the high school experience are relying on me. So it's a network and it's relationships. Again, as I've moved into administration, I've found that the quality of relationships and the network of people that are supporting each other is vital. We can't do it without each other. And you have to treat people right to be able to participate in that.
Do. And I think that's what so many administrators miss, is that relationship and the understanding that you can't treat somebody poorly and you expect their best.
That's right. And it is. I can say that the job of a high school principal is probably the hardest job in education because of the sheer volume of darts and arrows and bullets that come at them every day in every way. You know that in education in Alabama, we are at the point where we have to raise the kids sometimes, and we have to make sure that they're safe and that all of their HASLO needs are met before we can teach them. And that, for a teacher, is part of that class level relationship, and the teacher spends a lot of time. For the principal, that's even harder because he or she is not in those classrooms for that length of time with those students, and he or she is the one who's responsible ultimately when tragedies happen or when when things come about. That's very, very difficult. Plus, just the idea of having to be there. We all know we came from high schools, and you're still in a high school where everything is active. There's something going on every day. Those principals are responsible for the people at that building from the time the doors open to the time they lock up at night. That's a lot of responsibility. So I think I have a better appreciation for that now than I did when I was a teacher. However, I worked with enough really good principals
fortunate
that I know the caliber of person that it takes, and it is a vital role. So I can say that even in what I do, I have a lot of darts coming at me all the time, but not in the way that a high school principal does. So I really respect that position, and I try to remember that when I think of how sometimes as teachers, we know the way things should be, but we do just see one sliver.
We do.
We see one sliver. So that's important, but it's also very important that teachers feel valued, even when we don't, even when we know that they need improvement in the classroom. They have to feel valued, and it takes a relationship that is it's a give and take, that there has to be that, excuse her, a give and take there for that, and that's very difficult. So there's nothing easy about it.
Okay, and the last question then, what's the best thing about getting to do it? Because we talked about the things that are hard. What's the best thing?
The best thing is that I get to participate in the education of our students from pre-K all the way to 12. And like I've mentioned before, I spend a lot of time in my welding shop, which is not something that I did when I was teaching AP English. I have gone into the kindergarten classes, like I said, and gotten on the rug with the babies. I have been able to see the whole picture, and still I'm continuing to learn the whole picture from the beginning to the time when we try to connect them with whatever they're going to do post-secondary. And that has been really valuable because it gives me a perspective and a big picture that I really didn't have before. So, like I said, this is our Sunday afternoon. Excuse the dogs.
That's okay. Thank you so much for your time and for participating. And tell them bye, Winston.